Well, good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining us for WFIN 2 News at 9. We begin now with breaking news at the top of the hour. Um, as we are following after a school bus crash in the upstate, of course, this is following breaking news tonight into our studio as for some reason our graphics are not loading up there. But we are still following breaking news after a school bus has been collided with a SCDOT truck. That is, we that is of course breaking news just into our studio after troopers are investigate after a upstate school bus rear-ended by a SCDOT truck. On Friday morning, South Carolina Highway Patrol responded into a crash involving in Greenville involving a school bus and a DOT truck. The Highway Patrol said the crash happened around 8:15 on Highway 253 near Highway 183. And also in breaking news, staying there, we also do know, of course, that a 18-wheeler collided with a train. This is just into our newsroom in Greer after a train was struck an 18-wheeler that was struck on the tracks in Greer on Friday. According to Greer Police Department, they said around 4:40 p.m. officers were dispatched to the area of 4th Street and Moore Street regarding to an 18-wheeler that was struck on North Folk Street Southern Railroad's tracks. Of course, we do know while it was still on the tracks, the 18-wheeler was struck. Officers said the driver of the truck was not inside the vehicle at the time of the collision. There were no reported injuries at the time, but that is just a front image, of course. We do know the following railroad crossings were blocked. That is 4th Street, School Street, Trade Street, Able Street, and South Line Street. Drivers are asked to avoid the area and alternate routes. Of course, we're going to keep you up to date as we learn more. Well, we do know today is the day for the Olympics. Of course, you can watch the full coverage on our local news. That is where you can watch question mark, which may be some of your questions. If you're new to our area, of course, you can watch on WYFF4, which is an NBC affiliate station, the one we use all the time for different sources. Of course, we love WYFF4. Of course, you can keep up to date with the Paris Olympics with WYFF4. And staying with breaking news right now, after deputies are investigating after 5 juveniles were arrested after Greenville deputies observed them holding firearms and stolen weapons. They say around 6:30 p.m. on Wednesday, while actively patrolling the area due to prior reports of multiple shootings and illegal activities, deputies with the Greenville County Sheriff's Office were observed several juveniles brandishing firearms, near Cedar Lane. During the course of the investigation, 5 juveniles were traced back to an apartment within the Hawks Landing apartment complex. While a search warrant was resulting in the seizure of 5 firearms, two of which were stolen. All 5 juveniles were apprehended. And we also still are following after Rock the Country, which is a major fun festival in Anderson, South Carolina. We do know that Rock the Country had to be canceled in Anderson due to, according to their websites and sources, Rock the Country Music Festival no longer be coming to Anderson this summer, according to Anderson County Administrator Rusty Burns. The event has been scheduled for July 5th and the 26th. When we come back, we'll have the latest on the full complete what you need to know for Rock the Country and more, plus your forecast for the weekend. We'll be right back. We're back, thank you. Now we're continuing to bring you the coverage after the Andersons' Rock the Country has now been canceled. We do know that according to Rusty Burns, who works as the administrator for Anderson County, says that the event has been scheduled for the 25th through the 26th of July at the Anderson Sports and Entertainment Center. We do know that recently the rapper Ludarius dropped Lacrius, not sure how you say that, has dropped out of lineup on Friday morning. Rock band Shinedown announced on social media they would no longer be taking part in the performance. Shinedown also said in part, quote, "Our bands propose to unite, not divide. With that in mind, we have made a decision that we will not be playing the Rock the Country Festival." We also do know that the lineup featuring Creed, Gretchen Wilson, and others were announced last month. The Anderson County Administrator Rusty Burns released the following statement in part, quote, "Anderson County has been proud to host Rock the Country for the past 2 years. The event was a huge success, drawing tens of thousands of visitors, making a multi-million-dollar economic impact on the upstate. An event this caliber provided what a great venue and exceptional hospitality we have here in Anderson County. Of course, we are disappointed that Rock the Country will not return to Anderson this year. We are already planning additional major events and look forward to exciting announcements to come in Anderson County." According to WYFF4, they have reached out to Anderson County and Peachtree Entertainment, which is the festival organizers, to learn more. Of course, we still will learn more as we follow. We're still following the breaking news after a school bus was struck by a SCDOT vehicle. Of course, we are still following this. Is just into our newsroom as of earlier today. We are still following that breaking news. If you're just joining us, of course, we want to bring you the latest on that. We do know this morning the South Carolina Department of Transportation was, in fact, did hit a school bus. This was news into earlier after we know that in Greenville County on Friday morning, this morning, Highway Patrol said the crash happened around 8:15 on Highway 253 near Highway 183. We do know that according to troopers, the school bus was stopped in traffic on Highway 253. If you do know where this is, it is near the Don Chalet fast food Mexican restaurant that is near Cedar Lane Road and West Blue Ridge Drive, that is in Greenville County. Tim Waller with the Greenville County School District says the bus was confirmed to be owned by Greenville County. Waller said one student was transported by EMS to a nearby hospital as precaution. A bus aide was also taken to a local medical provider for examination. Of course, we do not know which hospitals they were at, and we're going to keep you informed as we learn more. Well, you may be wondering, where can you find the latest with the Olympics? The Olympics started today at 2 p.m. We do know that the grand opening show was indeed with many, including Mariah Carey. So if you love her, of course, you can watch every day through the next several days that they will be on. You can watch on WIFF4, which is our home station here in the upstate, of course. If you live in Western North Carolina, you can probably watch it on WXII or any other NBC affiliate stations. But we do want to let you know you cannot watch on WFIN. We are not an affiliation and we are an independent news broadcaster. We cannot bring you that. But of course, you were able to watch the Macy's Day Parade, but that was a little different. But of course, you can watch that on WYFF4 or any other station that will let you. And we're still continuing to follow after the South Carolina, or excuse me, as upstate experts celebrate a milestone in Alzheimer's research. According to South Carolina researchers and organizations, are celebrating a groundbreaking finding in Alzheimer's disease and dementia research, paving a way of the future where diagnostic testing is accessible, less costly, and invasive. The Banner Health Foundation confirmed the start of 2026 an international effort that provide blood collection with a at-home finger prick test with successfully and accurately determining if a person has the key biomarkers used to diagnose Alzheimer's and other diseases in for brain cognition. Of course, the study used the test of 337 clinical trial participants. The foundation says the first time in its research where the method has been validated. Well, let's turn now to our weather as we are under an impact day for sure. I know it's one of those days where you're kind of like, I don't really want to get out because it's kind of windy outside for sure. Of course, today is an impact day. Of course, we're going to see that throughout the rest of the day. We are not under alert, so that is also a plus. Um, and of course, we're not going to be under alert because we're dry outside, but we're just that wind chill is cold. It's just breezy. It's just not a good day to be spending all your time outdoors. Of course, it's 9 o'clock is on our timer or our time right now. Obviously, it's kind of dark and it's cold. But here's a look right now as we have our impact day. The next several hours of or the next little bit on our forecast here for you on the radar. Of course, we're looking at nice dry skies. We're 51 in Greenville. Good evening to those in Clemson, Anderson 52, Spartanburg feeling 50. So wherever you go across the upstate, you're gonna feel about 50s range. Not gonna feel any warmer. Not gonna feel any colder. Over the next several hours, we're just going to kind of stay dry, not going to have anything happen, of course. About 10:30, 11 o'clock, we're going to see maybe some western North Carolina snow. That's moving into Asheville, Lenore, and Hickory, that in Marshall as well. Of course, we're not going to see any of that at home here in the upstate, but of course, parts of I-19, I-40, um, those areas we're going to see more of the snowy. Now, we're not placing an alert or an impact for those areas, but if you are in those areas, this is what it basically would look like for you if you were in those areas. So, any area that is, of course, blue on your screen now has a red alert symbol. We use that to determine our alert areas. That is your alert for that area. So if you're in that area, just expect to maybe see some snow. They may be wondering how cold is it in Milan where they're having the Winter Olympics? 42 in Milan. So it's kind of, is it nice? Of course, we really can't bring you a live look, but of course you can find out the latest from WFIN 4. But let me just say, I have never been the one to watch the Olympics, but I would be willing, but of course I'll see the updates they'll have on NBC stations. But of course, next several hours, be watching for potential snow. Don't quote me on this, okay? We're not exactly counting on snow, but for those Asheville area, but of course, if we of course see any, we'll let you know, of course, because that's what we do here on WFIN 2 News. Of course, we're continuing to look at that. Let's look at our next several hours as we are staying about the 40s, grasping 40 about 3 a.m. Excuse me, maybe hitting 50 by tomorrow. We're hoping we got up to 50 today, which is really nice, almost 50 degrees. We're gonna feel like 40 over the next several hours, getting down to about the 30s, feeling like the 30s by 3 a.m. So if you're out, maybe going to work, whatever the case is, just prepare that you may feel a little cold. That's as far as it'll let us go. Not sure why, but of course, that area, of course, you're going to feel a little colder, feeling about the 30s, waking up tomorrow, hopefully feeling warmer, but it's still going to be a breezy day. So, again, take a look at our radar. If you're in those areas, of course, we're going to see potential snow for Asheville. That's northern Asheville, okay? Not for upstate South Carolina. I know our friends wish it would happen. No, no, I hate to tell you, buddy, it's not going to happen here. We're not calling for snow, but I will say, stay with us. Of course, if you're in that area, of course, we'll try to get you what we can as as our for coverage for you. Here's a look right now at the next hour or daily forecast for our 10-day extended forecast. Maybe you're getting ready to maybe be back to warmness. Tomorrow we're going to see about a high of 50. So like I said, today we topped out about 50. Feels like 50, what we did feel like. Now tomorrow's going to feel another kind of a copy, maybe feeling 50, low of 26. It's going to be cold. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, feeling about 50s by Monday. Monday we're grasping onto the mid to low to mid 50s. Tuesday, we're getting up to 67 to Wednesday, 70 degrees. So, feeling about the trend of Tuesday through Wednesday, we're going to feel about the 70s. So, make sure if you're going to be out tomorrow, maybe grab a little coat tomorrow and Sunday through. So, today, or excuse me, for tomorrow through Monday, I would keep a coat handy because it's going to be a little bit breezy for you. Of course, we'll keep you up to date on that all throughout the week. Now, we do have something new here on WFIN. Of course, there are no active closings in our area, and that is a good thing. But if you ever want to know how do I email closings from my church, business, school, etc., maybe even just whatever kind of business, church, school you run or that you're a part of, even if you're a member at a church, you can still do this. You don't have to have an account. It's completely free. All you have to do is email us on what's on your screen. All you have to email is wfin2.closingsdepartment, which is DEPT at outlook.com, and save that in your phone. That is a good way. Maybe take a screenshot. That is a good way if you ever want to email. And of course, on our app, we have the full list of closings when we have events like snow. Whenever there's a closing that needs to happen, of course, we'll keep you posted there. So if you do email our closings department, you probably will get a confirmation stating that, hey, your business, your church has been put into our system. And every time you have a closing in your church business, of course you got to email us. We don't save your progress. We're not like WIFF, who you get a little portal with your business. We're not like that. You have to email us every time. But of course, we'll love to do that for you to get your church business on our closings department, because it's nice to know, to have the upstate know, hey, our church is on the closings today because maybe we're having issues with whatever the case may be, maybe the roads, whatever the situation is. Of course, we will take your closings for your church business hassle free. All you got to do is email us with the business of your church or anything like that. Here's a look right now on your screen at the Skycam network. A look at I-385 northbound at mile marker 6.2. That is getting closer to Lawrence County. Area wide, looking nice. So I will say that is a plus. We want to say thank you for watching WFIN2 News tonight at 9 p.m., 9:30. We're kind of getting ready to end the week. Gonna get ready for the weekend. Maybe you're watching Paris Olympics. Or excuse me, not Paris Olympics. If we've been saying that this whole time, please forgive us. The Milan Olympics. Um, Milan Cortin Olympics. Of course, we want to thank you for joining us. As always, thank you for joining us for WFIN 2 News at 9 p.m. Make sure you share our YouTube channel, share our app if you got it, to anybody who know that may need a little source of breaking news, info, and all that stuff without getting too up in the um, people, like having a corporately owned company. Of course, we're independent. We're live, local, independent news. Thanks for watching.